Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock Monday, April 20th. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes?
I so move as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Public comment for agenda items. So now's the time for folks that, I know we've got a larger crowd than normal, and kind of the process is anybody that here wants to speak towards item 6, which sounds like some of you might, now would be the time to do it. And just talk about what your concerns are.
Item 6 is.
Item 6 is a discussion on 315th Street between
Okay.
Ulmus and Vine. And so if you just want to step up to the podium and give us your name and address and talk to us a little bit about your questions, concerns. And then when we close the public forum, we just have discussion with staff after that.
Used to this. Jim Wilson, 21637 315th. The issue that I wanted to talk about, and I've talked with Carl about this a couple of times over the past like year and a half, something like that. 315th from S62 going west carries the traffic from Tim Maverachel's campground, which in pound figures has been developed over the past probably 8 or 10 years and consists of about 90 seasonal campsites. So meaning most of the people commute in and out and are there in a cabin type situation in their camper for the summer. That has created a huge change in the amount of traffic on the road. There would be times, if you were interested in sitting there counting, you could probably count 50, 60, 70 cars an hour on a holiday weekend or at a rush time. There are concerts, family reunions, things like that in a community type setting. This is not an adversarial situation. We all get along with Tim. He's a great guy. Nobody begrudges the fact that he's built a business down there that's working. We're just trying to address the problem of you can't do anything about the traffic. People are going to come and go. That's a done deal. But the dust and the speed are the two issues. Speed, probably the easier, the one to start with. If the speed limit was a little lower, say 35, for one, Tim would have a basis to talk with his campers about that. No, the speed limit isn't 50 and you're not authorized to go 50 miles an hour up and down the road, regardless of how much dust or problem that causes. If the speed limit was 35, he could say, no, there's a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit at the campground. Why don't you honor the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on the road? We understand it's probably more of a suggestion than a, requirement. Not everybody's going to follow it. They don't follow it anywhere. But, that would be a start. The other issue would be the dust, and the speed would help with that. Right now, I believe it was the DNR required the campground to treat. There's Tim Maverachel now, the campground owner. Tim provides the first dust control treatment for 400 feet, 400 feet in front of each house. The second treatment, so if the people want to do it, is paid for privately, which is an added burden that wasn't there 15 years ago. Last year, I spoke with Carl about that, and he mentioned that the county engineer had an idea that there's a comprehensive dust control program used in some other areas, where they put some sort of a substance down. It stabilizes the dirt and dust and gravel on the entire road. What the dust control guy tells me is that, when you do individual sections of the road, dust is drug over the treated sections, and over time, it doesn't, really have the value that it had in the first place because this dust is picked up again. well, there's no practical way for the neighbors to pay for the whole road to be treated. The dust, particularly down by where the gravel trucks come out of the pit down by S62 is pretty significant. And depending on which way the wind blows, a pretty significant problem, for anybody living close to the road or using it, walking down the road, whatever. So I checked again with Carl and he said, well, the county engineer says it's probably too late this year to do that. Which sounds a little critical, but sounds like a convenient reason not to do it. If they were particularly committed to the idea last year, probably wouldn't be too late. The answer would just be, yes or no. So we're kind of at a standstill on the dust control. It will remain a problem until something's done about it, but the speed control might have a more short-term solution. And I have talked with a variety of neighbors here, Cameron Tylen, Dan Pike, Tim Navarachel, John Barnes. And I'm sure they would all say they're in agreement with basically what I said.
Very good. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak regarding this at this time? Okay. Thank you. We'll talk about it some more with staff at item 6. Moving on to claims.
Claims are prepared in front of you, sir.
Motion approved.
To approve the claims as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Payroll.
I have 2 items for you today. The first is going to be a new hire for sheriff, effective 4/27/2026. This will be a resolution.
Is there a motion for resolution number 21?
I move to approve resolution 2026-21 as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And the second item is going to be a payroll change for IT employee effective 4/26. This will be a motion.
So moved.
I second.
We got a motion by Chris, second by Carl. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Any drainage?
I have one drainage problem reported in Drainage District 31. Appears to be broken tile causing a sinkhole. Would recommend the watchman be assigned to investigate.
I move to approve having the watchman investigate per recommendation of the auditor.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion
Mr. Chair?
carried. Yeah.
I got another drainage question if you're still on drainage.
Yeah, go ahead.
Any update, Mr. Auditor, in regards to when 656 will start over there?
Still waiting on the engineer to finalize the updated plans and specifications. Last email I had, he was trying to track down all the material that had already been delivered on site to make sure that we know what's accounted for, to make sure that the plans account for what has not been ordered yet. So don't have a time frame, but just end of last week, we did have some emails back and forth. So he's actively working on it.
Thank you.
Anything else, Chris?
No, thanks.
Yep, you bet. Can I get a motion to approve the clerk's monthly report of fees?
I move to approve the monthly report of fees from auditor.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Looks like we need to approve an amended liquor license for PM Park. Anything on this?
So everything's still in order. What had happened is they failed to include the outdoor seating area in their initial application. So in order to make sure that that's covered, they refiled and resubmitted everything to make sure that the inside and the outside are all included now.
Good. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the liquor license application for PM Park as amended.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6, discuss 315th Street. Probably Brandon, Sheriff, and anyone else to add?
I'll start out by talking a little bit. The dust control stuff that Carl was talking to you about, it's a polymer enzyme that we mix into the gravel roads that it definitely has a dust control. It has the ability to reduce dust to some degree, but it's not going to be to the degree that dust control does it. So it's not going to eliminate a degree. We're going to probably get rid of 50% of the dust, maybe, with that additive in there. Because that's one of the things the company at first promoted as part of this enzyme. It'll solidify the road so you don't have to grade on it as much. And obviously through that, a lot of the particles get locked into it. But as the rock still wears, there's still dust on it. So it does have an element of dust control, but it's not to the degree that dust control itself does it. So I don't know, I'm apprehensive at using it in the spot to justify it as dust control, because if it does not work, I've not used this particular product before. I know it got used in Franklin County and they're happy with it according to the grading side and the maintenance side, but I haven't given me any kind of indications if they're happy about the dust control side of it. Plus, I'm kind of apprehensive about that. We don't really have a maintenance problem on that road, or without the problem. So, I mean, it definitely could help, but I just don't want to have that, spend $50,000 out there and have it not do what we were hoping that it was going to do. So that's kind of where that came from. I do agree, reduced speed on that road would reduce dust. Now, the amount of dust that you'll see on the road when people are driving at 35 versus 55, I mean, it's a noticeable difference, but there's still a significant amount of dust at 35. So, I mean, that is definitely something we can look into, and I can talk to the board some more about if it's something they want to always have me do. I would say we need to do live traffic counts on that road, during some times that notice that the traffic's a little heavier, because I'd like to see some peak numbers on that road so we kind of see what that is. And the people that live out there probably have the best idea of when the peak times are, just to try and catch that. Because, yeah, if I just went on and did it right now, it would give us a skewed view of what the traffic is, I'm sure. So I want to make sure I work with somebody and get a correct traffic count for the peak time so we can kind of make the plan. That makes more sense. I've had a great relationship with law enforcement. So, I mean, if we're having a speed issue at that point, maybe we can work together and try and figure something out. But speed limits only work if people use them, like you said during what you were saying. So it's something we can definitely look at out there. One of the things that, like I said, 6,000 feet long. One of the things we could do on that road that would last 7 to 10 years, possibly longer, just depends on how traffic works, is if we did a double chip seal on that whole 6,000 feet to the entrance to the Lucky's, that would obviously be zero dust after the chip seal is down. It would last probably, it said 7 to 10 years, but it's probably going to cost us 80 grand to do that 6,000 feet. Something more substantial like paving, it would cost $1 million, so we definitely don't want to do that. So something with more ballpark of being thought about, a double chip seal on that road versus some other options, and treating it with that enzyme would be probably $40,000-$50,000 by the time we're done. The equipment time, downtime, and all the stuff we have going on. So looking at prices on that. Before we started, I didn't realize that Lucky's already did dust control, so I was going to suggest that we try and move on them to try and do some dust control. But since that's already out there and not doing job, obviously we don't want to rely on that, because like you said, the dust gets drug in the adjoining areas. So I do plan on putting dust control in front of the pit entrance. We had talked about maybe putting it at the stop sign, but that's going to turn into washboards really bad if we do that. And we're not having to go through it anyway. So I guess I would prefer not to put it at the stop sign itself. We just put it in front of where we leave and enter the pit or our stockpile there. But I will do that this year. I mean, we're gonna have dust and stuff there. I guess.
Tom, do you or Sheriff do you have anything to add at this time towards the discussion? You don't need to. Not trying to put you on the spot. Just asking.
No, I mean, right now the SUP it's just an application of dust control. It doesn't say 1 or 2. I know with other venues in the country with gravel roads, we've had 2 dust controls, both the first and second application, and then the operator's responsibility. To do that, we have to go back and amend the SUP. The situation of that.
Okay. I don't know if Carl has anything. I would just say appreciate you guys coming, and this is kind of the first step. It's on our agenda to talk about. It's not an action item. So I guess my thought would be, Brandon, you proceed with some of the stuff you need to.
Keep legitimate quotes from contractors for various things, just so we can get a better idea what the options are.
And then try to get back together on a discussion, because obviously looking at speed limit, all that, that's got to be an action item that we have to address. But wondering if in the meantime, we have an open dialogue with these folks and the location that people are going to, and maybe get together between the three of you in a smaller venue, and one of the supervisors to sit through on some of the things you've come up with, and then bring it back to us if there's action that needs to be taken or should be taken or can be taken after they've done some of their due diligence. And I understand your concern just based on the time frame. And so I think as much as we can get done between now and when things pick up, that makes sense. I think we should do that. And then also have a discussion with Tom regarding Board of Adjustments, if that's something that would be appropriate to pursue, possibly amending a little more dust control or not. And I personally, I'm not opposed or I'm not for or against anything. I just think we need to explore whatever options we can to try to give you guys some relief.
Could I add something in here?
Yep, sure.
You said the reason you want to put the air hoses to check traffic. Can we add the river road into this? I know that ain't what Jim wants to hear, but if you look at traffic, there's a lot more on a river road. They drive a lot faster. And you're gonna end up sending an ambulance out there one of these days because they're gonna kill them. And there's a hell of a lot more traffic that you tell me you started out 200 foot in front of each house. That went to 400 foot. That was his deal. I paid 200 twice a year. That ends up being 400 once a year. Same equipment. You're talking. I would really like to see the speed limit addressed, because Jim, when he talks to me, he says he's scared to be close to the road because people drive so fast. Your dust control ain't gonna do a goddamn thing for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we might be able to buy 2 deals with speed.
Sure.
The dust ain't gonna carry as far.
And that
Couple of 35-mile-an-hour speed limit signs is a hell of a lot cheaper than any other remedy you got.
And that's why I think after kind of introducing this, it'd be very helpful for Brandon, the sheriff, Tom, maybe to sit down with a couple of you key players, just, have a discussion, just trying to troubleshoot with some other ideas and see what we can do to try to come to a solution. Because obviously we're not going to get it solved today, but I certainly appreciate your input. And I think if you guys have an option to sit down and have a serious dialogue and try to go item by item, that would be more productive. That makes sense.
I do have a question for the sheriff. If we decided to lower that to 35 miles an hour, how would that impact you, or how do you think that would be, would it be able to be enforced, or just your input?
Yeah, if it went through and it was approved for whatever you want to lower it to, we would just enforce whatever that speed would be earmarked for. Just a little more input, I think. Just it's a unique situation with the campground there. Obviously, April to, I'm guessing, first part of November, you're going to have people there every weekend, I'm guessing. So if it's lowered, I was talking to Jim earlier, obviously, just to the east of him is that big hill. So if we lowered, hopefully that would keep people their speed down and we wouldn't have to worry about that hill as much Also, you know, everything kind of piles on top of each other with the speed, what it is right now, the dust, and then that hill. There's just some safety concerns, but lowering it down, it's not going to impact the sheriff's office. We'll enforce whatever speed is posted there. And once, if it is lowered, then we would make extra effort. First is lowered to make sure that we enforce the new limit.
That hill was definitely a concern of mine when I drove it last night. I was aware of it anyway, but last night as the sun was setting and I was coming up the hill, somebody else was coming at me and we were right there next to each other. If any of us would, I mean, it was, and that was without dust. That was just the hill.
Same thing this morning out there when I was out there driving it too, that sun coming up in the morning is hitting you too. So that early morning, late afternoon, there's concerns there with the way the sun angle is. So just, I think another thing that we can look at as far as lowering the speed limit, just based off early morning, late afternoon, the way the sun's there.
So the process to get the speed limit lowered would be do the study.
Yeah, I'd like to see the traffic volumes during the, like I said, either during the summertime when it's peak, like I'd like to see near some, if you guys have some event going on out there, I'd kind of like to see what the traffic is during that. I gotta borrow equipment, so it's gotta work up the schedule of people to borrow it. But either way, I can do it in a couple different locations. And then we get traffic. And it also gives me speed, direction, and vehicle size. So it kind of gives me an idea of what's traveling with too.
Trouble is that would, Memorial Day is about when the traffic really picks up. That sounds all right too. So, we're not, we're gonna see the traffic slowly increasing between now and the 1st of June. Slows the process down.
Well, then I can, I'll see when it's available. I'll get after this, I'll get you guys' phone number and we'll see if we can meet and I'll tell you kind of when, I'll send an email, see when I can borrow it. See if that works out to a time you think is a reasonable representation of some of the traffic issues. I mean, worst case scenario, I go to T and see if they'll let me borrow their. So those tubes across the road, you don't work on gravels and bowls, they work on pavements.
Chris, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any problem lowering the limit, but we get some responsibility goes all the way around, and the tenants need to be made aware of, maybe driving slower on the road, and the visitors that come out to see them. I think they need to take some responsibility and ask them also, because Tom's right. We have other venues that we've had dust control problems with now, and we got to be fair across the board. So I'd like to hear more of what Tom and Board of Adjustment would recommend so that we could be fair to everybody in the county.
Sounds good. Well, definitely you'll follow up with the gentleman and then we'll keep the dialogue going.
Yeah.
So we're not going to just sit on this for a few months and.
Definitely starting now.
The argument I have with that is when you talk to them people, and Jim will vouch for me on this, what's the speed limit on a gravel road?
Well, 55 to 850.
That's the sheriff.
55.
55. So when I'm talking to people trying to tell them to slow down, they're using you against me. The speed limit's 55, why should I drive slower? And Jim's heard that, I know, because he's told me that. And how do you argue it?
Yeah.
You're sticking up for them to drive as fast as they
Well,
want.
like I said, we're not opposed to it. It's just we can't lower the speed limit today to 35 miles an hour. So that's why we still have a process legally that we have to follow. I'm not saying we won't get there, and that's why I think it's going to be appropriate for after this meeting to have a little more discussion and figure out what makes the most sense before we take formal action.
It might be more than one thing at the same time.
I agree, but I want to stress this, my views on the speed. I think if you really stop, look at it, you've said that you don't want to spend 80 grand to do the road. I can't. I mean, so virtually what we've decided here is that ain't an option. What options do we have?
We haven't decided
We
that.
haven't decided anything.
I'll talk to you more after the meeting too, give you my phone number and everything, so.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, on that item. Item number 7. Anything to add on that? Anybody?
No, I'd move to approve the chair to sign the amendment as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Any dock permits?
We're gonna have 2 today, 54P on Linden and 55 on Oak, and all their documents are in order.
I move to approve the dock permits as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. County engineer update.
Hi, good morning. So I'll start off, we had on Friday about 50 foot of lark on a southbound lane, along 100th Street, came apart on us pretty good. So we had to pack gravel on it for over the weekend, and it's pretty rough down there at the moment. We're gonna patch that back in. We believe it might have been a contractor for the DOT that's working on the interstate, hauling off their haul route. So if that's the case, then the DOT will pay for the repair. But we're working on getting it repaired either way. Just hopefully we can get somebody else to pay for it. The guys are really getting after the work orders. We're gonna use the grade all even though it's not fixed yet. They can't operate the back cab. Usually you'll be able to operate the whole machine with one person from the back cab. We're just gonna have 2 employees out there. One will drive the truck in front, one will run the grade all in the back. So that'll be out there. The older excavators out there and both minis are out operating right now. The newer excavator is gonna have its service finished up today, had one of its major 2,000 hour services, so it was down for a few days, but that should be back up by the end of today. We have 3 trucks down with coolant leaks. They're not major leaks, but we just took them out of service until we get that chased down. Other than that, we have everything's out and about getting work done. When it comes to buildings, we haven't got the fence yet in for the Mason City shop, but we're looking at getting that south fence in to start with. In the near future, we gotta move a berm out of the way and a few trees and just odds and ends just to make it easier for the install. When it comes to Rockwell, the cold storage building, we had that completely demolished and all the stuff removed, so that site is ready to go for the project. So I told the consultant that we're working with on that I want them to give me a schedule as to when they're either going to propose letting dates or give me the proposed letting dates by the next meeting. It's been enough time. I want some results there. That's all the plans for it. So it needs to the point where we should be able to do that. It's going to coordinate with our architect of the building on a few things, but I think I just told them I want some dates. So hopefully next week I'll have that for you. Other than that, I guess I don't have, well, I do have, sorry. Over the weekend, we had 7 cones and 1 barricade taken from various places around the county. It wasn't one location. It was just like one weekend, they all disappeared. So that's, I guess we've never lost all that much at one time. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough that it's concerning. So we're hoping that doesn't continue happening. We're working with the US 65 bridge right by Rockwell. They closed it down for one day on Friday to do some crane work. And we worked with the DOT to figure out what the unofficial gravel detour is most likely to be and where the traffic went. So we identified about 6,000 feet of dust control that they're going to be willing to do. So I'll be working with them on that in case you guys get any complaints about that route out there. We do have an agreement with the DOT. I'm just working out some of the final details with them, and they'll be dust controlled according to whatever the agreement is when Dino starts doing their rounds. Here's I am done this time.
Carl, anything to add, Chris?
Just wondering, Brandon, did you have a lot of frost boil damage?
Yeah, we 6 of the cones were taken from the spots where we had them out there. We usually put cones out near frost boils. And we have probably 10, 15 spots out there that we had cones on. And for whatever reason, 6 of them got the cones taken.
So we do that as a convenience for people, so they can kind of see they're coming and they slow down before they get to them. It causes less
Right.
damage to the roads, but that's where they disappeared.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any announcements?
Move to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.